Hello, friends. This, I think, will be a relatively quick video, certainly by my standards. What I wanted to talk about today is the moment of panic. And I define that as the moment you lay out the cards. And it happens to me almost every time I read, where I think, oh my God, I've lost it. I can't do it. I don't know what these mean. Um, and I've been doing that for a very long time. So I want to talk about that moment in particular. I think I've addressed this a little bit in other videos. Um, and I want to talk about why we feel that way and things we can do to not feel that way. And I think why we feel that way really is a combination of ego and desire to please. We want to be good at something, and we want to give people, if we're someone who accepts money for readings, we want to give them something really good, and we want to give them their money's worth. And we also want them to tell us we're awesome and to think we're cool. Um, and those are good. Ego can be good. It can keep us motivated to keep learning. It can keep us motivated to keep going. It can also get in the way of a really good reading when we're focused too much on what's here and not what's here. What we're giving to the person we're reading for. And I'm talking, I guess, mostly in this case about readings for others, because you can fight the panic a little bit when you're reading for yourself, because there's no one to impress. Um, so why is that a good thing? Like, why is that little moment of panic good? It shows that you care. I think if you stop caring about doing a good reading, then that sucks. Um, so caring is a good thing, and wanting to offer someone your best as a reader, I think, is excellent. But obviously, if you stay in that state, it's going to become all about that state, and you're going to freak out. And I freaked out for years trying to read for other people. Like, I got so terrified that I had lost it, and it doesn't. After all these years, it doesn't go away completely. I think I've told you this story, but the first time I went to the reader studio, one of the first things you do is this foundation reading with a partner, and you do a reading for someone, and then you repeat the reading at the end of the weekend to see what you learned. And I did my first one, and I laid out the cards, and I blanked. Like, there was just nothing. I had no idea what to say, no idea what to do. I felt like an idiot, and it was awful. And I really kind of downward spiraled for a lot of the day because of that, because of where I was, and my sense of, like, everyone here is better than me, so the imposter syndrome really kicked in. That's like the result of when we don't work with the feeling and we let it overtake us. And sometimes the feeling will overtake us if we fight it. Because what happens is it tries to defy us. Like, oh, you think you're going to fight me? I'm stronger than you. I had a very good therapist for a very long time. And he used to tell me all the time, look, when you have those feelings, you have to tell them that you're going to take care of them. You have to recognize that they are saying to you, hey, there's a part of me that needs care right now. And I'm here, listen to me. And you, as the sentient being, have to care for them. And I always thought that was brilliant, although I was never very good at doing it because it's hard, and it seems like brilliant on the surface, and then you start to do it and you're like, hello, little panic attack. I'm here to take care of you today, because I'm very literal about things like that. So what do you do? Well, I think you do accept that that moment of panic is going to happen. And I think that you take a deep breath and you allow for some silence. I have gotten pretty good at allowing for silence. When I was a new reader, I felt like I had to start talking right away. And that's not really the case. And so these days I'll say, okay, I'm going to look at the cards for a while. I'm going to see what patterns jump out at me, what themes jump out at me, and I do that. I'm looking for if there's a lot of suits of any kind, if there's a lot of major arcana cards, if there's a lot of court cards, things like that. So I'm really thinking a lot about anything I see that jumps out. And I start kind of quietly forming what I call my thesis. And I've talked about this in a lot of videos. But my thesis is kind of the sentence that answers the question initially that I then have to prove using the other cards in the spread. And by thinking of it that way, it actually gives me something to focus on other than my panic. And I think that's the thing you have to do is like recognize that it's there, take a deep breath, and teach yourself that you can do it by actually doing it. And you can't think about or focus on more than one thing at once. So while you are thinking about forming your thesis and getting your message and doing the research in the cards, then you're it's impossible for you to be focused on the panic. So you will start to find it go away. It will start to dissipate because you haven't fought it. You haven't said, I demand you, you shall not pass, and then it kicks back and overtakes you. You've distracted yourself by doing your job. And I find that that really, really helps me. And I also find that experience and time have put me in a position where I'm not embarrassed to tell someone, okay, I'm going to be quiet for a little bit while I look at the reading. And I only really start to talk when I have something to say, when I have an initial feeling or an initial question, an initial something that lets me start putting thought into language. And that tends to happen more quickly when I allow myself to do that rather than when I'm freaking out, because again, I can't focus on both. That has really revolutionized my experience as a reader when I allow myself to do it, and I don't always, but it gives me something to focus on other than fear. And that's really what panic is. With that moment of panic, it's like they're going to judge me, I'm going to be bad at this, I'm going to judge myself, I'm going to have to give up my reading life, I'm going to have to go like be a scientist or something, that's a joke, but you know what I mean. So I think when you feel that moment of panic, if you kind of work with something like what I'm talking about, you just go to work and say, okay, what am I seeing? Like, how many major arcana cards are here? How many court cards? How many cups? What does that suggest? Like, this question's about work, and there's a lot of cups cards. And you start puzzling those questions out to yourself, or out loud if you're practicing, you give yourself permission to do the work and be curious about the reading and not be overtaken by ego and panic. So I hope that helps. It has really helped me. And as I always say, it doesn't work all the time because I'm a human. So I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. So yeah, that's my little tip. I hope it helped. So be good, and we'll talk soon.